Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Neil Marston, who's the MD and CEO of Flynn Gold, who are an Australian-based mineral exploration company targeting gold and battery metals in underexplored areas of Tasmania and Western Australia. Neil has over 30 years' experience in the mining and mineral exploration sector and is a proven ASX-listed company leader with a strong governance and corporate finance background. He joined Flynn Gold just over a year ago, so he's going to talk about his career, what the company has achieved to date, and what the outlook is for Flynn Gold. So let's welcome Neil to the podcast. How you doing, Neil?
I'm very well, Rob. Great to be with you today.
Yeah, thank you for your time as well. So as we always start these podcasts off, I just wondered if you can tell us a little bit about your career, about your background, so our audience knows a little bit about the guest, so we can talk about from when you way back when you graduated and work through your career.
Well, thanks, Rob. And look, I suppose I consider myself a bit of a jack of all trades, which you need to be in the exploration game. I started working in the surveying and mapping field outside of mining and switched over in the early 80s when the gold sort of boom first kicked off in Western Australia. In the time of good gold prices and a lot of open pit mining happening in Western Australia, switched over to a corporate governance and accounting stream a little bit later, and I've basically worked my way through the industry, project management roles, getting projects up and running, getting approvals, which in this day and age is very important to take a project from an idea to actually getting it permitted to production. Worked in gold, base metals, iron ore, and not only in Australia but overseas as well. So, as I said, a bit of an all-rounder. I love the projects that Flynn Gold's got. Came on board a year ago and really excited about the future for the company.
So I just wondering if you just give us a quick snapshot of Flynn Gold.
Yeah, look, Flynn listed just over 2 years ago now. Our exploration focus is very much in Australia, two areas, Tasmania and Western Australia. Our portfolio of projects are very much gold focused, but also very much in the case of Western Australia, we've got projects which are lithium associated with the gold. So our first 2 years has been very much focusing on the granted tenure we've got in Tasmania, chasing high-grade gold in the northeast. The northeast Tasmanian area has a very significant history of gold production, and there's certainly a lot of potential in northeast Tasmania. And as I said, we've got acquiring a portfolio of lithium projects in Western Australia, which we just started to get granted, and we're planning to undertake exploration on those areas going forward.
Flynn completed a significant amount of drilling at the Golden Ridge project in northeast Tasmania since listing on the ASX. What have been the highlights of this program?
Well, yeah, that's right. We've almost drilled 10,000 metres at two project areas on Golden Ridge, about 4,500 metres at an area called Brilliant. And then last year we switched from the Brilliant prospect 2.5 kilometres east of that. We started drilling at a place called Trafalgar. Now, Trafalgar, historically, there's an old shaft there going down about 60 metres, chasing high-grade gold veins. And a lot of other adits and workings in that area. So we've been drilling there since May last year. We finished our second phase of drilling about a month ago now. And so we've drilled about 5,000 metres at Trafalgar. our best results to date have been in one of our drill holes. We intersected just over 12 metres at about 16.8 grams per tonne gold. And that was from a depth of about 108 metres. But our last announcement actually was from a hole number 13, where we intersected 4 metres at close to 24 grams per tonne gold from just 23 metres downhole depth. We'd actually drilled a hole earlier and intersected an adit. So this hole was drilled underneath the adit to see what was there. And we got that 4 metres at 24. And that included about half a metre at almost 170 grams per tonne gold. So we intersected what the old timers obviously were chasing. And that was a very encouraging result. What's most pleasing about that latest result is we're drilling, there's no drilling beneath that intersection. So it's open down dip, and there's no drilling to the east. So it's open along strike to the east. So an obvious target for us to go and follow up with the next phase of drilling.
What have the results at Golden Ridge revealed about the mineralisation in the area and the potential it may have?
Look, Golden Ridge, I think historically the old exploration and mining activities have focused on these high-grade vein systems. About 25 kilometres to the southwest of us is what they call the Mathena gold field, where production there produced over 250,000 ounces between 1887 and 1926. They were mining there, and they pulled out mineralisation at an average grade of 26 grams per tonne gold from a number of reefs down to 500 metres depth roughly. So that's within what they call the Mathena sediments, and outside of the Beaconsfield gold mine in northeast Tasmania. That was the richest mine that's been in production. So we're chasing sort of similar mineralisation. The thing at Golden Ridge is there's a granodiorite intrusive, which is basically pushed up through the sediments, and along that contact between the granite and the sediments, there's about 8 kilometres of contact there with old workings on it. So the workings at Brilliant and the workings at Trafalgar, which the old timers obviously established, they were seeing evidence of gold on that contact or close to it. And so we've been drilling there to date, and we'll continue to test some of the areas along that contact. As I said, it's 8 kilometres long, hardly tested by drilling. So it's a great opportunity for us because we think there's mineralisation all the way along that contact, which obviously the scale of it, it's a large system, and mineralisation there is a mixture of high-grade vein sets, similar to what the historical miners were chasing, but also we're seeing in some of our drilling broader zones of mineralisation. So we've reported zones, 50 to 60 metres of width at about 0.6 or above grams per tonne gold. So when you start to talk about numbers in that sort of range, you're starting to think about it being a much larger system, and we certainly have got mineralisation from the results we've reported to date, with more to come, indicating that we've got both the broader lower grade systems and then these high grade veins running through them. So yeah, overall it's a very exciting development for us.
Alongside its exploration program at Golden Ridge, Flynn has been busy investigating obviously other prospects in Tasmania, and growing its portfolio within obviously the state. What's the company achieved in this in regards to some of its plans?
Look, in June this year, we executed an option we had to acquire 2 projects, namely the Fire Tower and Warrantina gold projects. At Warrantina, there's historical drilling done by a company called Great Land Gold PLC, and obviously their focus is on other bigger projects in Western Australia at the moment. So we're able to pick both these projects up them for fairly reasonable consideration. But on a technical basis, there's some really exciting numbers come out of their previous work. So Warrantina, we've got a drill rig there at the moment, kicking off a couple of diamond drill holes over the next few weeks to basically confirm some of the work that they've done, and also give us a bit more understanding about the geology and what we see as a multiple vein set system there. It's at Warrantina, it's certainly open. It's close to the surface, so it becomes a deposit which is, ideally readily mineable once we, go through expanding that resource and establishing how many ounces are actually there. And the other project, Fire Tower, that's a gold, cobalt, tungsten project with base metals within it as well. We've been looking at the historical data that's been generated from that project. And so we've got plans to go and do some more drilling there in the not too distant future after we've finished at Warrantina. Just following up some of the high grade results that they've drilled out to date, extending some holes which we think they stopped short, and really establishing what we think is, or investigating what we think is a really exciting project as well there at Fire Tower. So those two projects are very much sort of the next priority after the Golden Ridge project. We've got other areas which we're exploring on a progressive basis. And over on the West Coast, we've got 2 exploration licenses at a place called Henty, just south of Zeehan. And that there's some really high-grade zinc, lead, silver mineralisation intersected at Henty. So we're just almost through the permitting process with the local regulators, and once we've got permits in place, we'll be able to go and drill some of those targets as well, which is a really exciting opportunity over in an area which is surrounded by other high-grade polymetallic mines such as Rosebery, Mount Lyell, and Hellier. So it's a very highly mineralised area over on Western Tasmania as well. So we're looking forward to doing some work there in the new year.
Tasmania has a strong mining history, and maybe not many people know. How has the company found the state as a jurisdiction to operate in?
Look, I think the jurisdiction is very, very pro resources. Certainly on the West Coast, as I said, there's existing world-class mines such as Rosebery that have been in production for a long time. Where our ground at Henty is just to the south of the town of Zeehan, which is a very historic lead silver mining jurisdiction. And look, the local state government here has got a good framework for exploration. It's very encouraging of companies to get out there and do work. I like the system which we're operating in here. We can liaise with the regulators, and we do liaise with the regulators on a very regular basis about what we're doing. They come and do site visits to see how things are going and making sure we're complying with all the conditions of our permits. But overall, it's a very, very good jurisdiction to do work in. And as far as permitting for future mines are concerned, we don't see any risk in that regard. I think Tasmania would certainly fit into that sort of tier 1 jurisdiction as far as sovereign risk is concerned for mining projects.
Flynn Gold also obviously has a presence in Western Australia. What projects do they own in WA, and in what commodities?
Okay, so we've got some ground up in the Pilbara, which is in the northern part of Western Australia. 2 projects there, Mount Dove and Yarrie. Mount Dove is surrounded by the Hemi gold mine to the north west of us, and to the south east and east we've got Pilangura and Wodgina, which are 2 lithium projects in production at the moment. So we're in a bit of a geological hotspot as far as those projects are concerned. The Yarrie project is to the east of Mount Dove. It's on the contact between some areas where historical iron ore deposits have existed at places like Shea Gap. So, whilst there's iron ore potential, not a lot of exploration has occurred for gold and base metals, which as well as lithium, which is certainly something we're having a look at. And then further to the south, back in the Yilgarn, around the Southern Cross to Forrestania Greenstone Belt, we've got 3 project areas there. Koolyanobbing to the north of Southern Cross, and also Forrestania and Lake Johnson, which are basically located on the edges of the Forrestania Greenstone Belt and the Lake Johnson Greenstone Belt. So both of those projects are prospective for gold and lithium. Forrestania we've got ground about 10 kilometres to the east of the large Mount Holland lithium deposit, which is being developed and brought into production probably in the next 12 months from that's a joint venture with Wesfarmers and SQM. It's the right address to be looking for lithium. Obviously, Western Australia is a preeminent jurisdiction for lithium projects at the moment. So both of those projects, certainly the ground at Forrestania and Lake Johnson has only been granted since July this year. So we're just starting to kick off our exploration activities to date. Lake Johnson, we've identified some pegmatites daylighting from some early reconnaissance work. So we plan to get back and do some soil sampling and mapping on both those tenement areas in the not too distant future. And hopefully, we can identify some good lithium targets to go and drill test next year.
I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about the Australian mining market at the moment. And I suppose looking at, again, I speak to a number of CEOs and a number of people within the mining industry, and lithium seems to be quite a hot topic at the moment. I just wanted to just give us an overview of the mining industry across Australia.
Look, it's interesting, Rob. Obviously, lithium and rare earths, and even of late, uranium is having as far as the Australian resources sector is concerned, is having quite a bit of a strong rally around those commodities. The gold producers, obviously, they're being valued on the gold price, and the Aussie dollar gold prices are generally over $3,000 Aussie at the moment. So most of the companies that are producing gold are doing very well as far as profits concerned. The appetite for gold exploration companies is being affected by the non-gold projects, such as I said, the lithium and rare earths. There's capital flowing to those companies that are exploring for those commodities. So there's no doubt that it's having a bit of a negative impact on some of the companies that are exploring purely for gold. You're seeing a lot of gold explorers, pivoting towards these other commodities on the basis of the fact that they're not getting much love in the gold space. But I think for the people who are long-term faithful around the value of gold projects and exploration for gold, I think there's some longer-term reward to be had. And certainly, if you look at what Flynn Gold's doing in northeast Tasmania, I think we're demonstrating that, if you go into an area which is underexplored and invest some money in those areas, particularly if you've got all the indicators that there is good potential for making a discovery, then with modern exploration technology, some deeper drilling, and some smart application of capital, shareholders should be rewarded over the longer, medium to longer term, and that's our view with Flynn Gold in northeast Tasmania in particular. It's the analogies between northeast Tasmania and the Victorian goldfields are very strong geologically, and there's no reason why we can't be finding some very high grade gold deposits on our ground, just like you're finding up in Victoria. So yeah, it's an interesting market at the moment, depending on what space you're or what commodity you're actually focusing on.
What challenges do you see the Australian mining market facing, I suppose, going towards the end of this year, going into next year? What are some of the major challenges, whether it's around financing, whether it's around staffing, or anything else? How do you see the outlook of the mining industry in Australia?
Look, there's a lot of projects being developed, and so there's always that demand on manpower and good quality people to make things happen. cost of capital and the time required to build infrastructure to get a mine up and running. Most of the producers are out there trying to take a project from permitting and project approval through to actual production, and finding that their cost estimates are under pressure pretty quickly on the high side. So, they're taking longer to build things. They're taking longer to bring projects into production. And I suppose the fact is that commodity prices have been able to buffer some of those challenges. But Australia's got a deep history of mining. So on the positive side, there's lots of competent people within Australia who are able to make things happen, bring projects into production. We've got some of the world's smartest metallurgists and operators and underground miners now making these projects happen. So whilst there's headwinds always, I think the future for Australian mining, particularly around some of these critical minerals, you're seeing it in the lithium space, but it's movements in rare earths, movements in uranium as well. They're all very encouraging for the future as far as the viability of the industry. And I suppose one of the challenges is there's a lot of people in the industry have been around and they've got to retirement age now, and they're all being encouraged to keep working because there's so many opportunities for people in this industry. So, if anyone's a young person watching today and looking at sort of getting into the mining industry in Australia, or I know a lot of young geos come out of the UK. Australia is a great place to come and build a career and lifetime of work around our industry. So, overall, it's very positive.
And lastly, just what's the outlook for Flynn Gold over the sort of next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, look, over the next few months, we've got more work to do on Trafalgar. We've got about 900 odd metres of core going through the labs at the moment. So we will be reporting those over the next month and a half, and basically informing the market of our sort of assessment of the Trafalgar prospect and the broader Trafalgar to Brilliant zone as part of the Golden Ridge project. We've got drilling happening at Warrantina at the moment, and we'll be drilling at Firetower before Christmas, and Henty in the new year. So whilst we've got most of our eggs in the basket of work we're doing at Golden Ridge, we certainly want to pursue some of these other project areas we've got. And over in Western Australia, we're waiting on some results from work at Mount Dove around soil sampling. So those results will drop and be reported probably sometime in October. And as I said, we've got plans to kick off some initial field work in our Western Australian assets down around Southern Cross at Forrestania and Lake Johnson. So there's that blue sky around some of our lithium exploration. So yeah, look, a lot happening both on the eastern side of the country and in Tasmania and over in the west. So it makes an interesting time to sort of manage these diverse portfolio of projects, but something I really enjoy.
Neil, thank you for your time. Appreciate you giving us an update on Flynn Gold and telling us what's happening in the Australian mining market. If our audience wants to reach out to you, if they've got any questions or want to follow your story, how can they go about doing that? What social media channels and platforms are you on?
Flynn Gold's obviously, we've got a website. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn, a few other things as well. So I'm sure if people just search Flynn Gold, they'll find us and be able to, follow us through those media. Otherwise, they can just follow me personally. I'm active on Twitter, LinkedIn, and enjoy sort of putting up and retweeting various company announcements. So, I'd love to see more people following our company.
Yeah, great. And we include those in the show notes accompanying this podcast, so for easy access, so people can easily follow you. So really appreciate your time. all the best for the remainder of the year going into next year. And if you want to come on next year and give us an update, you're more than welcome to.
I'd love to do that, Rob. Thanks for your time today, and thank you to everyone who's watching.
Yeah, thank you. So appreciate your time listening and watching this on YouTube as well. Appreciate your time. As always, appreciate your continued support. Keep sharing these episodes. And as I always say, not just sharing the episodes to people within the mining industry, but also outside of the mining industry, because that's going to help build the brand of mining. And we always do, and I obviously talk about this with certain guests about the brand, the mining brand, and we need to put a positive spin on it. And by sharing these episodes with people outside of the mining industry is only going to help the cause. So as always, appreciate your continued support. Please keep sharing these episodes. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.